This is StormReel, a podcast about the intersection of people and weather, hosted by storm chasers Jeremy Hamann and me, Gabe Cox.
Welcome to StormReel, the podcast about the intersection of people and weather. I am your host, Jeremy Hamann, joined by my fellow host, Gabe Cox. Hey, Gabe, how you doing?
I'm doing great, man. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. Hey, man, before this record tonight, we're doing an evening record, so I needed to eat some dinner.
Yes.
And if listeners have listened in the past, they know that we on this podcast love our tinned fish.
Big fans.
Big fans of tinned fish. I'm talking tuna. I'm talking sardines.
Yes.
I'm talking anchovies even.
Yes.
You know, and it's been a while since we've recorded this show. You know, we had a break in between seasons. And in the meantime, my family got a Costco membership.
Oh, man.
And Costco has some tinned fish, my dude.
You know what I had for lunch today?
What'd you have?
Costco canned tuna.
Yeah, you did.
For real.
Yeah, you did. 50 grams of protein in that bad boy.
Yeah, man. Power up.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah, I bought their sardines over the last several years. I've been buying anchovies. We're in a golden age right now, I feel like, of tinned fish. Maybe that's like an economic indicator. We're all like eating fish out of a can. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but
This is also why we don't do the podcast in person.
Right. Yes. Truly.
We've got to maintain some distance with our breath.
Yeah, it is nasty. Before the record tonight, I was like, do I need to like chew some gum? And I'm like, oh, no, this is digital. I don't need to do
That's a confidence booster, though. I do it all the time.
Exactly. I love it. But dude, speaking of the ocean, the deep sea, you've also been enjoying some ocean content as well. What are you watching these days?
Yeah, we've got an aquatic theme tonight. I like this. I've been binging HBO Max series called 100-Foot Wave. It is fantastic. I stumbled across it on a plane, actually. Scrolling through, seeing what kind of series they have. And, having been in Hawaii last year, was missing it. And so I turned this on and I was blown away, actually, how good this series is. And that what drew me in the most was all of the parallels to storm chasing, like seeing the obsessive nature behind these guys and seeing the sacrifices they make, and seeing how they recognize that that's the case. Showing them work through all these mental health issues, but also like pitted up against nature and their spiritual connection there, and just how amazing it is to be in this, like, trying to tame this thing that can kill them, basically.
Yeah.
It's so good. And I love the soundtrack. It's not your typical like surf movie soundtrack. It's Philip Glass, who did the score for The Truman Show. I think that's people would recognize that the most. But yeah, Philip Glass is the man. I love him. He may or may not be heavily featured in my anti-hype storm chasing playlist.
What do you use your anti-hype storm chasing podcast for? Or playlist, sorry.
Yeah, just managing adrenaline levels on the way to a storm. Gotta keep focus and keep a steady emotive state.
Absolutely. That minimalist vibe.
Yeah.
It was really fun to watch that show with you, 100-Foot Wave, when I was in Austin hanging out with you and your family. It's an incredible show. And just the lengths that the camera operators go to, like they're out there too.
Yeah.
In it.
Yeah.
It is nuts.
It's bananas.
Yes.
Highly recommend it if you haven't seen it. Definitely go watch it. Season 3 is out now.
Oh man, great recommendation. Yeah. I love talking about what we're watching. Sweet. Well, let's bring in our guest. Phil Johnson is a storm chaser, a veteran podcast host, and co-creator of the Stormfront Freaks Network, an evolution of the Stormfront Freaks podcast, which during its incredible 10-year run, released over 230 episodes, and hosted nearly every luminary in the weather world. Welcome to the show, the best voice in all of weather, and a friend of the show, Phil Johnson. Welcome, Phil.
Thanks, Jeremy. Great to see you guys. Good to see you guys back at it again. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, excited to have you on. It was long overdue. We actually caught the podcast bug by having a small feature on the Stormfront Freaks way back when you guys first started. I think this was 2019-ish.
Crazy.
We had a little tracker chat segment talking about storm chasing, but yeah, that was a fun time, get to know you guys and having a little 5-minute segment while we got to geek out about storm chasing.
That was I loved having those segments on the show because I'm always looking to break it up. You know, when we started the show, it was a lot of interviews, you know, with guests and the guests that we'd have on. And then I'd try to have some, you know, funny kind of little segments towards the end, but was always looking for a way to break things up with something. And I just, you know, I knew from getting to know you just a little bit and having you guys on the podcast, you know, that you were great storytellers. And so I just thought that would be a great little breakup to create, you know, some good time blocks within our show to kind of break up sometimes that monotony of an interview and create something different and something attractive. And it was very attractive.
I think that's also the first time we shared our love of canned tuna was through those segments.
It's full circle.
It is.
It might have. It might have. I was having to keep my mouth closed during your chat here early in the show just to make sure nothing came out.
Oh my gosh.
But hey, more power to you guys. More power.
Thank you. And Phil, you have a long history in broadcasting, podcasting. You worked in terrestrial radio as well, right?
You know, I did. I did for a while. My older brother, Mark, who's part of our podcast as well. He's more of our behind the scenes, live production guy, and he edits the show, uploads it, all that stuff. But he was in radio first and foremost. He did radio at his college where he went to school. He did the college radio station thing. And I got really interested in it. And so I'm like, you know, I'm going to try that. And I was in high school. So we had a radio station in our town. We have a town of I grew up in Princeton, Minnesota. It's like 3,500 people. And just, you know, little tiny town. And we have a radio station, though, within that town. And it was a AM and FM country music radio station. And at the time, I was like, country music, I hated. Like, it was Conway Twitty kind of music back then.
Yeah.
Really twang. And, but I'm like, but it's radio. So I actually went in, I said, hey, you know, would love to. And I was just looking part-time, something to do part-time. And the guy ripped off. So back then, you know, they had the AP wire that would come across on teletype, right? Wow. And it would just keep spitting out news stories. You know, in the back, you'd have this, dot matrix printer in the back of the studio and just printing stuff off. And he just ripped off a bunch of news stories, and he gave it to me, and he said, "Here, just record these and bring in the tape." You know, so it was, cassette tape, those little handheld recorders. I think we might have had a little tiny microphone our family had attached with this thing. And all I did was just read off these AP wire news stories.
Amazing.
And took it in, shared it with him. He said, sure, come on in. And next thing you know, I'm a high schooler working at this AM FM radio station spinning country music. And so that's where and two little quick anecdotes with that. Number one is I would usually work the night shift, like 6 p.m. to 10 p.m.
Nice.
Or 7 to 11, whatever it was. Like we would go off the air at 10 or 11 or something like that. And so, but that was usually my shift because I'd be, going to school in the day or something like that. And the problem is you were the only one in the studio. Like it wasn't during the day when you had, secretaries and ad people and, working in the office. And so there, there'd be time in a 4-hour shift, like you got to go. And so, what do you do? Cause you're the only one in the studio. So what I'd always do is my go-to was a 45 record of Gordon Lightfoot singing The Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. Because it was like a 6-minute, 7-minute song. So it was like a really long song.
So long.
Buying your time.
And so almost every time I worked, Gordon Lightfoot would come out, and that would be my cue to quick take my break.
The listeners would know. You trained your listeners.
Oh, yeah. Because I told them. I'd tell them. I'd tell them, hey, got to take a break. Here's Gordon Lightfoot.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, I can only imagine just such wonderful memories in a studio all by yourself. That's like incredible responsibility and some creativity in there. That's really great. And then did you just feel yourself kind of catch the bug of broadcasting and what the audio format can be?
No, I wouldn't say that. And only because, I went to college, and I actually started looking around for, part-time radio jobs there. And, one of them I interviewed for was more of a talk radio, which is fine, but he offered up, or actually no, they had 2 stations. One station was like an AM talk radio, the other was FM something. And I think I was applying just for something at the FM station. And the guy right away said, hey, how about the late night, like the midnight to 5 a.m. Talk radio shift? And I was just taken aback. I was like, and then right away he said, nope, if you would have jumped on it, I would have given it to you.
Wow.
Whoa.
But seriously, I don't want to be a freshman in college and I'm working midnight to 5 a.m.
Yeah, that's a rough shift.
And I got to talk
for the one guy out there who's listening
for 5 hours.
Produce 5 hours in the middle of the night. That's insane.
Yeah. And then the other one was a classic rock station. And so they had me come in, to kind of do a trial. So I worked with another DJ, and they had really, like, their equipment was really crappy. Like, I thought I had crappy equipment working in Princeton, Minnesota. Their stuff was really bad. Half of it wasn't working. But so he did it for an hour, and they said, okay, you can have the next hour. So I got down, and one of the songs I was going to play was a Beatles song. And I sat down, I cue it up, all ready to go, next song. And I go and I run it. And I was not, I was a freshman in high school. I was not a Beatles fan at that point in my life either. Didn't really know the Beatles, didn't know their songs. I mean, I knew who they were, right? But just, I wasn't a fan of their music to really know their music. And I started playing the song, and all of a sudden the DJ comes running into the studio, and he flips it to a 78. I think it's 78 because I had it on 33. Or vice versa. I think maybe it was vice versa. It was maybe on a 72 or whatever it is. So it was like almost chipmunky when it started, but they weren't singing yet. It was just the music, but it was really fast. He came in and shut it down to 33.
Oh my god!
I was like, oh no, and they didn't call me back.
Oh, like you're playing the remix. Yeah, that's
the Beatles dance mix. But yeah, so that was.
That's great. I have a soft spot for those small radio stations. In college, I was a broadcast production major, and so I worked at the college radio station at the University of Nebraska in Lincoln, and those are some great times in the studio. Just, I don't know, just ton of freedom and just ton of reach and power, and people would call in, they're listening. It's really incredible.
But that, Jeremy, that was 1989. Mm-hmm. And I never did anything in radio again or audio, anything like this until we started this podcast in 2016. So that's why I say I didn't necessarily catch a bug, but it's always been something I've enjoyed.
Yeah, absolutely. I kind of want to talk about like the time in between. Okay, that moment and then the starting of the podcast. So you studied biology in college. And obviously you are, a weather obsessive like all of us. Have you always been interested in nature and weather and kind of the world around you?
Should I disappoint you on this one again as well?
Yes, please.
So I was pre-med.
Okay.
Which is why I had a biology degree, because normally you'd have some kind of science, degree. And so I was pre-med. And that was kind of always my plan. Never really had any other plan or backup plan. I was just going to be a doctor. And so I got in high school, it was always really easy for me, and got to college and realized you got to work a little bit harder at it. You can't just show up and get A's. And so I was in biology. My junior year was when I realized that Here's what happened. I had a class, it was called ichthyology, which is the study of fish. And we had a lab, and we had a test in the lab, and you had these stations you go to, and most of the stations would have a formaldehyde jar with a fish in it, dead fish, and you had to write down what was the scientific name of that fish, like Ichthyosaurus tumasuderus, that's what you had to know. And I remember looking at this jar, and it had a walleye. If you guys know what a walleye is, it's a game fish. It was a walleye. And I'm looking at it, and I'm just thinking, what is it? And I'm thinking, it's a walleye. It's a walleye, people. It's a wall, and that's when I realized there's no way I'm going to be able to become a doctor and have to memorize all these words.
This is why you don't like tuna. It makes sense now.
Tuna trauma.
I don't know the scientific name of what's in your tin can. So that's when I realized that it wasn't for me. But I was already through my junior year. I'm like, I'm just going to get my degree and go to grad school and just work towards something else at that point. But so again, it wasn't like, I've had this big interest in science, and that's where the weather thing came from. And, that's not the story.
Yeah, totally. And I think that's so helpful for our listeners to hear. Like, we've got a lot of young people who listen to our show who are, beginning their higher educational journey or in high school, and life takes a lot of different paths, and it's winding. You got to figure out what you like, what you don't like, have experiences and adventures and bad experiences too. It all makes up the totality of our journeys and how we get here. It's never a straight road.
No, if I could give hope to anybody, that would definitely be the area is you can change. You can always change. You don't have to, when it comes to weather, guys, I didn't get really into wanting to storm chase and really wanting to do that and learning it until 2016. Mm-hmm. Right. And by then, I was in my 40s. Right. And so I don't think people need to, and I think we all think that sometimes, right? Is that we kind of get, well, I'm doing this now and I'm committed and I'm older and I'm married or I got kids and or both or, and I can't change. And that's so not true. You can pursue a passion whenever that passion comes up.
Absolutely.
Yeah. 100%. So that's interesting. I didn't know that it coincided with the same year that you started the podcast. So was the podcast kind of an effort to learn more and just dive into it?
No. So I did kind of, to go back to Jeremy, I had started listening to podcasts probably a couple years prior to that, maybe a year or two, when I was introduced to that medium. And it really excited me because I felt for the first time I could listen to people talk about things that I want to listen to.
Yeah.
Right. As opposed to turning on the radio, you just got to listen to whatever they happen to be sending through the airwaves. You don't have a choice. You can't really pick. Yeah, you've got different radio stations to pick from. But, if there's a talk radio station, they might have a little segment on something you want to listen to, but then it's a bunch of other stuff and maybe some politics and maybe some sports and maybe some of this and that. And you just got to listen to all of it because that's your option. And so I love the fact that, wow, I could find podcasts with specific topics that I enjoy, and that's all they talked about, and they deep dived into all that stuff. And so that I was really interested in the podcast format. And I can't tell you guys that there was one thing from a weather side, from a storm chasing side of thing that got me really excited to do a weather podcast. But the decision was made in early 2016 because I was at a severe weather symposium. Ohio State University, their weather club, annually does a severe weather symposium on campus. And and I had slowly been getting more and more interest in, had gone through the National Weather Service Storm Spotter classes, and just a little bit more interest, nothing huge, but it just slowly grew. And I went to that symposium. They had a great lineup that particular year. They had Mike Bettis was there, Brad Panovich was there, and so there were really some great speakers there as well. But I remember during a break sitting down, and I didn't know anybody, which is fine. I can be fine in an environment and not know anybody and feel I have to go talk to everybody. But so I was sitting down by myself, and I don't know if I was looking through podcasts, but I just slowly, the idea while I was sitting there, I started thinking, this would be cool to talk about. Let me see what else is out there. And so I kind of looked to see what other podcasts had been doing podcasts on weather, were weather specific. And there were really only a couple at the time that I saw that consistently had been putting out weather podcasts. And I thought, hey, maybe there's a niche for this, especially from a storm side of things, because that's what interested me. Weather didn't interest me, and it still really doesn't. It's the storms. It's the sexy stuff that's what I get into. And so I thought, there needs to be a podcast that I would like to listen to about these topics and have the people I would like to listen about and, the guests. And so really it was me becoming an avatar of creating who's the person I want to try to cater this to was me, because I didn't feel there was really something out there for that at the time. And it's only Gabe through that's when the bug hit. I mean, once you start talking to people, you get into this community, the bug hits, and the lessons I've learned, Gabe, in storm chasing in the last, we're in our 10th year. The lessons I've learned is been, degrees worth of information in talking with the people, storm chasers, meteorologists, and everybody in this industry. It's been like taking classes and learning. So I've been able to accelerate my learning tenfold because of that.
That's awesome. I love that so much. And not only that, but you've also in those 10 years surrounded yourselves with like the top people in the industry. You have Weather Channel meteorologists as co-hosts, former meteorologists. You have professional storm chasers. Like, how did that journey kind of take shape where now you've surrounded yourself with all of these people, and it's you've catered yourself to this crowd and created and like surrounded yourself with this family. I don't know how long you guys have had your current co-host group, but seeing you guys go out on the road together, like it's just so fun to have seen that evolve over the years.
Yeah, which is a good question, because the current crew that we've got has been together for probably quite a bit. So we've got Dina Knightley, who's a meteorologist, formerly working for weather.com. We've got Serena Arnold, who's a meteorologist, author. She writes some children's weather books that are great. We've got Jennifer Watson, who is a contract meteorologist for the Weather Channel. We've got Greg Johnson, who is a storm chaser, great photographer up in Canada. We've got Brady Harris, who is a degreed meteorologist. He's now doing some new stuff for us as well with live storm coverage. We've got Mark Massaro, we call him Maz. He's a former on-camera meteorologist in the Cincinnati area. And then the other person is, as I talked about earlier, my brother, Mark Johnson. We call him MJ because we have two Marks. And he is a Skywarn net operator for his county in Minnesota. So he manages and runs all the county Skywarn ham radio operators for with the National Weather Service. So that's the crew that we've got. We've had that crew now, for years. It's been great because we've built this great friendship. I mean, guys, these are some of my best friends.
Yeah.
And I interact through them, as you said, Jeremy, digitally, right? Like we don't get to hang out at the bar every other week, but we get to hang out with each other with a drink via, this chat, which is amazing. And the only time we get together is to storm chase, usually once a week. One week out of the year. Mm-hmm. And then sometimes some special occasions, might be a Storm Chaser summit. We've gotten together for some of our special 100 and 200 episodes. But that's really at the time that we get together. But it's obviously like we're best friends every time we get together.
Yeah, we can relate with that for sure. Gabe and I, definitely. This is our time to hang out, to nerd out. Yep. It's really, really special. And just like you guys, we've started a podcast as well to bring together like minds, to hang out with our friends. And then the people listening too, I know when I listen to podcasts, like those people become my friends too. So it's just like this multiplying effect of relationship and connection. And it's a really, really special thing.
It's most of them. And to kind of finish answering your question, Gabe, most of them were, or a lot of them, I shouldn't say most, but probably half of them were previously guests on our show. Mm-hmm. And that's where we met them. That's where I met them, was they started off as a guest. That was Dina, Serena, Greg. Those three started off as guests. But by having these people on, you kind of get a feel like, okay, are these guys digging the show that we're on right now and they're getting into it? They could be a good fit. If you're looking to add someone as a co-host, you're like, okay, yep, this person's going to fit. And so it's kind of a trial run at the same time.
Hey, dear listener, storm chasing and podcasting both cost money. And now that Gabe and I are back making podcasts regularly, we have a new way that you can support our show. If you look in the show notes, you'll see a link to be able to subscribe to our podcast. This will cost you $5 a month, and you will be rewarded with early access to our podcasts. You'll get each episode 2 days early as a $5 a month subscriber, and we will read your name on the podcast. This support means the world to us. We take our time out of our regular lives to make these episodes, and so just a little extra support would really, really mean the world to us. Thank you so much for listening and considering subscribing. That's great. And
that's awesome.
You've collected this community on the podcast, and you've interviewed so many people over the years. Have you kind of collected, because this is something Gabe and I talk about, like being weather obsessed is kind of a unique attribute, right? Like you go to your day job and you're probably the only guy in your office who's obsessed with weather. Or if you're listening, maybe you're the only person in your friend group or family, that watches the radar close. Phil, in meeting all of these people and being friends with all of these other weather obsessives, what do you think it is that like makes a person a weather obsessive, regardless of like their background or where they come from?
Wow, if I knew what that gene was, I don't know what that is. I think, Jeremy, you could ask that about anybody, right? People that love medicine. As I said, I was pre-med, but I didn't love it, right? But there are people that love it. Why do they love it? And I don't know what the answer to that is, but what I can tell you is mention a little bit of what I said before, is ever since I've gotten into this community and you surround yourself, your life takes a path based on a lot of the people you surround yourself with. Mm-hmm. And if you surround yourself with people that are smart, okay, great, because that's how you're going to get smarter. If you want to be the best tennis player in the world, but you stink, just go keep playing people that are better than you, and you're gonna get better, even if you lose.
Yeah,
you keep learning and you keep getting better. And I think it's like this as well. If you surround yourself with people that are passionate about the weather and are smart and know about it and know what to look for. You're constantly going to learn new things. You're constantly going to be energized, because there's going to be somebody on the days that you're not energized, because you guys know we all have those days, right? Mm-hmm. We have those days with our family. We have those days in our jobs. We have those days, with our gods, that we're just not in it today. But if you surround yourself with people that, you trust, or good family people, you surround yourself with, good God-fearing people, good, whatever it is, there's going to be someone to pick you up. And so in the weather community, there might be people that busted and this and that, but boy, this person didn't, or that person didn't, or man, this person is jacked up because they haven't been storm chasing for 3 months and they're going out and you've been out already for, weeks and you're tired, but this person's jacking you up because they're so excited and they're so energetic. And there's always going to be those people that pick you up and keep you going.
Absolutely. That's great advice. Our friendships are what keep us going in life. I've really learned that over the years, that it's everything. And just to even think, like, where would I be without these friends? And that's, how Gabe and I started chasing, is we were at the same workplace together, and we're like, hey, like, just, doing small talk around the water cooler and like feeling each other out. And like, neither of us are super extroverted.
What do you think about tornadoes?
Yeah. We're like, no, I grew up in Nebraska, Tornado Alley. Yeah, absolutely. The people are hiding
like
in plain sight.
Like an awkward junior high crush.
Yeah, exactly. Phil, you've mentioned storm chasing a little bit and how that's part of your life. Tell us about kind of those initial storm chases. Was that around like 2016, 2017 when you started to kind of venture out and try to get in front of some severe weather? What was that process like, and where are you at now with storm chasing?
So for me, it started with just obviously some really local stuff, right? So when we started the podcast, and I was here in Ohio, so that was 2016. I just did some, local stuff. Most of the stuff was just around the Cincinnati area. If there was something coming, then I'd be like, okay, not that I knew what I was doing, but I knew how not to get in trouble and could go check it out. Well, the benefit that happened, and again, it was all through the podcast, is one of the guests we had on at one point is Rachel Sanner. And so had a chance to talk and just kind of build that relationship a little bit. And so there was a summer, I don't know that it was 2016, it might have been 2017. But anyway, I reached out and I said, hey, I'm going to come out, are you going to be chasing? Can I join you or whatever? And she was very, come on over, blah, blah, blah. We're going to be chasing. And so actually I went to Oklahoma, was in Oklahoma City, and went my first, what I would call like a real chase, was with Rachel and their group from the Tornado Titans. Mm-hmm. Got a chance to meet a lot of people. But that was that day, and we saw a tornado there at night, which was interesting. I'm still not interested really in night chasing, but mm-hmm. that was the second tornado that I saw. But then the next day, they weren't really going to go out because it wasn't, a moderate or something. It might have just been a slight risk day down in Texas. But I was out there, so I was like, I'm just going to go chase because this is what I'm here for. And so actually, then I went by myself, went down to Texas, and realized Texas is a big state. Takes a few hours to get to the local McDonald's around the corner. And but anyway, I chased, and there weren't any tornadoes, but saw some great storms, some great mammatus following a storm, and it was just fun. And so that's what started my. Then I just would go out. Usually every year I'd go out for a week. Usually end of May time period, and I would chase by myself. And I had the luxury of hooking up with Gabe once as well, and was able to chase with Gabe one time that I was out. And it wasn't until this, so this was our fourth year this year, so it would have been 2021 that, or 22, anyway, that we went out as the Stormfront Freaks. We all got together. They started wanting to go too. And so that week trip that used to be a solo trip now became a group chasing trip.
Awesome.
And so different dynamics with that, obviously, when you're with a group as opposed to when you can chase solo. But it's a lot more fun, definitely, when you got friends that you can be with and chase with. And so that's now my chasing. And I'll still do regional stuff here around Indiana, Ohio, Kentucky. I hate Kentucky now, so I really don't chase Kentucky anymore. That got old real fast.
Tough terrain.
Horrible terrain. But still, Indiana and Ohio, the challenge is out here, guys, and you probably know this too, but the storms here, usually it's an MCS kind of storm. It's it's a squall line coming through with spin-ups. It's like, okay, if you can try and catch up to a 55 mile an hour squall line to figure out where the spin-up's going to be. So that could be challenging. I've had some success, but I've also had a lot of failures with that. Or it's a lot of night stuff. Like there's a lot of night stuff around here, and I don't exactly know why that is or if it just feels that way. But a lot of nighttime tornadoes, and I don't have an interest in that at all, because my whole interest in storm chasing is to see it, to visually see it, to chase for that image that I want to be able to see.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, we have the same thing here. Just no interest in nighttime. For me, I started off because I wanted to capture cinematic video, which you can't do at night. Like you can get some grainy, looks like it was recorded on a handy cam footage at night, but that's not what I'm interested in. So yeah, when the sun goes down, and I don't want to hit deer. That's the other downside to chasing at night.
Yeah,
wildlife.
Night road flooding to me really freaks me out. That's really scary.
Yeah, that's a nightmare.
Whenever I look at radar scope and I'm looking at like spotter dots on there, and I know the sun is down where I'm looking at, and folks are like still under supercells. I'm like, that's a special chaser right there. That's a maverick. They're getting after it. They can't stop, won't stop. I
also don't like the lights too. The lights are brighter, and people running light bars, and you can't see where you're going, and there's lots of reasons why night chasing, in my book, is a no-go.
No thanks.
Yeah.
Do you remember your first tornado that you've ever intercepted or saw while chasing?
Guys, I actually had to look it up because I figured you would ask me that question. It's interesting. I don't know. I would peg you guys to be the ones that just can remember this tornado, where it was, the date it was. I equate it. I've talked about this before, but I equate it to golfing, where you might golf with someone and you finish that 18 holes. And they're like, over on hole 4, that second shot I took. And I'm just trying to think, what was hole 4? What did that look like? I don't even remember hole 4. Like I'm thinking 18, we just did it. I remembered 18. So for me, honestly, when it comes to all these storms and these events and tornadoes, I'm like, I mean, I kind of remember it, and I've got pictures and I got video. But dates like, the 2019, this, or like really the only tornado I can remember and think much about. And Gabe, you actually helped me a little bit with that one, was the 2019 Lawrence Lindbergh EF4 in Kansas. That was a day that I was tweeting you a little, or not tweeting, but texting you a little bit.
Oh, yes.
And yeah, you were giving me a little bit of advice on that. And so that was helpful. But outside of that, I really don't remember. So I figured you'd ask me this question. I'm like, I got to remember what year that was. But it was 2004.
Oh, wow.
And I used to live in Wisconsin for a little while. And it was 2004, and I was in an office, and it was 6, 7 o'clock at night, right? It was kind of the golden hour. And everybody else in the office had left and gone home. And this was kind of self-employed. It was a business. And so I was still working because I was talking to somebody. And I think I might have known that there were storms sort of in the area, but nothing real big. But I did have my radio, like FM radio station on. And all of a sudden, an alert came through. But I was like, I couldn't tell because I was having a conversation with this guy in the office with me. I couldn't tell, thunder, was it warning? Was it tornado, thunderstorm? Wasn't sure. And all of a sudden the lights flickered a little bit in the office. Came back on. I'm like, it's kind of interesting. Then they went out and just completely went out just a few seconds after that. I'm like, no, that's really interesting. So I got up out of my chair in the office and I walked out my office door and I took a left coming in the hallway coming out the door because it wasn't the main exit to the office, but there was an exit door that had a window. And interesting enough, it looked out to kind of the south, a little bit to the south. And all I did was I looked out the window. I didn't step out right away. I just kind of looked out the window. And there was this, you guys know the pink insulation, that comes in rolls that you put in your house.
Yeah.
There were pieces of this all around falling like snow from the sky, just kind of drifting slowly down from the sky. There was some stuck in some trees, probably about 100 yards off, catching in the tree limbs. But it was kind of like it was snowing these pieces of pink, fluffy insulation. And I looked around. I didn't see anything threatening outside the window. So I walked out the door. I took a left to go out to the front of the office. And the minute I turned the corner to the front of the office, I looked and here was this, stovepipe tornado, probably 500 yards away.
Oh my
wow.
gosh.
It ended up, I think they pegged it as it was an EF1 tornado. But I watched it for 20 seconds, 10 to 20 seconds. And then it just roped out right there. Wow. And the minute it roped out, all of a sudden you hear the sirens coming from all different directions. You hear it get louder and louder and louder, sirens coming in. And sure enough, cops are coming in, fire department are coming in. And as I was just like, wow, that was crazy. And as I went home, I drove by so this was the southeast part of the building that the tornado was on. Just to the north of us is a transportation company. We were kind of in an industrial district, and they had semi-tractor trailers. And a bunch of them had blown over, and one was on top of the other one. And so this was just kind of a little bit north. So this tornado passed just north of our office and then ended up just southeast of our office when I came out and saw it. And then as I was driving home, kind of going by a little bit on the main highway, there was this big industrial shipping company or building. It was kind of just a metal siding, a big, massive building, but it was metal siding where the roof had been just completely ripped off of this, massive building. But that's where all the insulation came from.
Oh,
wow.
And so that was my first experience. And I'll tell you this, it wasn't like, that's when I caught the bug. I certainly got a little bit more of the bug at that point. And that's when I kind of got some more interest in learning a little bit more about storm spotting and stuff like that. So that's kind of where it started. But that was 2004. And so it was still 12 years before we started the podcast.
That's an incredible story. That's so cinematic. The pink insulation falling from the sky.
It was peaceful. I mean, it was from my view where you didn't see the tornado. It's just very peaceful to see this stuff just floating all around you. It's crazy.
That is crazy.
That's wild.
That may not have been your origin story to dive into it, but gosh, a memory like that doesn't hurt. Yeah, to feel a passion down the line. That's
But I had to look up the date, so it was June 2004.
Okay.
I can't remember the day.
Yeah. And what town was it in Wisconsin?
So this was Kaukauna, Wisconsin, which is near Appleton, which is where I was living at the time.
Okay.
But yeah, just south of Green Bay. So the National Weather Service Green Bay office had the records of that I could look up.
That's great. That's great. I'm sure we have some listeners who will want to look that one up too, for sure.
Yeah.
So Phil, tell us about, there's big news in Stormfront Freaks world. We thought we'd let you tell it, but tell our audience about the future of the podcast Stormfront Freaks.
So yeah, this all started with the podcast, right? We've been going now. This is our 10th year. We're just short of 250 official episodes. That doesn't include some of the bonus stuff that we've done over those 10 years. So there's really been over 250 episodes. But
wow,
as far as official podcast episodes where it's the normal format every 2 weeks, we're doing 26 of them a year, kind of a deal. We're putting an end to that. We are actually closing the doors on the podcast. I don't want to say forever, but I also don't want to say we're taking a pause. Because it's something that 10 years ago when we started, it was an audio podcast uploaded to Apple Podcasts, and 10 years ago Spotify wasn't really a thing, and they weren't doing podcasts then, but it has evolved into way more than just an audio podcast. And in over 10 years, video has gotten huge, and you guys know that. Yeah. And so as that grew, so did we. Kind of grew the podcast to become a video production. But through all of that, and Brady Harris has now really taken off with our YouTube channel because he'll do forecast videos. He was doing live streaming of weather events. He's just growing our Stormfront Freaks Network YouTube channel like mad. And then we've got another co-host, Serena Arnold, who's a meteorologist. She has been doing now for a number of years a ton of TikTok videos, so short little videos where she's educating people just about weather items and educating them how it works and what this is and what this means. And she's taken off with that, and she's now been adding that to our Stormfront Freaks Network YouTube site as well. And so there's just all this stuff growing, and I'm trying to help them, especially Brady, trying to help them grow. And long story long, it's become a lot. It's taking a lot of time. And so what's happening is I'm still trying to kick out every 2 weeks, kick out a new show. Every 2 weeks, Thursday night, 9:00, Thursday night, 9:00, every 2 weeks, Thursday night, 9:00. And it's not hard when you're excited and you got time and you want to do it.
Yeah.
When your full-time job and when work really gets you bogged down and your family's got a bunch of stuff going on and you're looking at, I have to do another show Thursday at 9:00. It's not a do it when I want to thing. And part of that, we set it up that way because, I researched when we started the podcast, you want to be consistent. Like you want to put something out on a consistent basis to grow your listener base. Absolutely. And so we have been, for 10 years, consistently every other Thursday. There have been a couple here or there because it might fall on Christmas, right? That we record a week prior and then release it that week, right? But those have only really been a few and far between scenarios. And it's gotten to the point, and there's a number of other little things, right? I can't tell you there's any one big thing, but it's a number of little things that just made me go, you know what? It's time. Now, if someone else wanted to take it over, I'd be more than happy to just show up every 2 weeks and have fun and talk and see who the guest is tonight and ask him some questions. Mm-hmm. But putting it together, producing it, putting the script together, finding the guest, arranging all of that, scheduling your co-hosts and then now, it's videos, right? And so we decided, and I decided, I guess, I certainly talked to everybody, but that we're just, it's the bi-weekly podcast. We're putting an end to that. And I'll finish with this, just the one thing I was kidding around with, cause these past 2 weeks we're planning the last show. And I was kidding around. Somebody said something, I think it might've been Greg Johnson. because I shared a thumbnail with everybody, and he's like, "Man, this makes it real, and this is pretty sad." And I said, we could shock the hell out of everybody, and 2 weeks later come back with our reunion show.
That's so funny.
Do our podcast reunion show and just do it 2 weeks later. Not wait for 2 years or whatever.
You should.
Now that I've shared that, we probably won't do it.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I mean,
we feel all of that.
Yeah,
for sure.
absolutely.
And we took a 2-year break just because there was life going on, and it had to take a back seat. And we get it. There's to put on an hour long, hour and a half long show. There's hours and hours and hours that go into it. Most people probably don't understand the minute details that go into it, but yeah, it's a lot, and it can weigh on you when you've got so much other stuff going on in the background. Like we're not just podcasters. We're not full-time podcasters here. There's a lot going on in our lives.
And a lot of us aren't even full-time weather people,
right?
Full-time. But I know, to me, that's my outlet, is to just think, and what else can we do, and what's next, and what's new.
Yeah.
I don't have that answer right now, and I'm certainly not trying to withhold anything from you guys, because I would be happy to share it with you if I did.
Yeah.
But I know it's going to come. Like I'm going to come up with some idea. Hey, we're going to do this. Try this.
Oh, yeah.
The good news is we already have platforms now to release this stuff. So we already have the video platform. We already have the audio platforms. All those are now there. So, I want to be Gabe, like you or Pankos Hank Shima, where, I want to put out a tornado video, but I don't have to do it every other Thursday at 9 o'clock at night. I got to put out my tornado video. I'm going to do it when I have time to get to it, and I can do it and do it right, and then put it out. That to me is a little bit more. There's more freedom there to not be on a deadline to put something out.
That's exciting. Yeah. I'm really excited for you, man. That sounds like a wonderful future, where you get to rest, expand your artistic horizons, right? And you still get to be like an executive producer, right, of this network. And that's a wonderful thing. And yeah, just like you said, you've built these platforms, the blood, sweat, and tears of getting those up and running. That is no small feat. So we really encourage our audience, go to YouTube, go subscribe to Stormfront Freaks Network, where you'll catch all that incredible content that Phil listed out. We'll list some of it in the show notes as well. It's such good stuff. Great quality content. And I'm excited to see what you do next, man.
I don't know. Might be giving you a call. Maybe we collab on something.
Absolutely. That'd be wonderful. Phil, looking back on the last 10 years of Stormfront Freaks, what have been some of the most memorable moments on the podcast for you and the crew?
So we celebrated our 100th episode. We did that in Oklahoma City. We did a live show on site in Oklahoma City, which was really great because it brought all of us together that really hadn't, up until that point, we hadn't had an opportunity to all get together, all the co-hosts, from all over the country. And we had planned, I had reached out to two guests we had had on previously on the show that I knew were in the Oklahoma City area, and that was Rick Smith, the warning coordination meteorologist at Norman, Oklahoma office, and then also Gary England, who former on-camera meteorologist in Oklahoma City, and
legendary.
Yeah, they both graciously accepted, and so it was a great night. The brewery had all the tables and chairs set up for us, and so it was really fun. So we got there, we set up, and Gary and Rick showed up as well. And everybody wanted to meet them and take pictures with them too, which was pretty cool. But what I didn't realize, and I don't know that anybody would have, but Gary is a TV meteorologist, right? Mm-hmm. And Rick is from the National Weather Service. So two weather entities that need to work together, but maybe don't always get along great together. and so it was interesting as I watched this and I look back on it, because at the moment, you're into, and you guys know this, you're into the production of the event, and the sound is good and the cameras are working, and so it's hard to be in the moment sometimes when you're doing all that.
Yeah.
But looking back on it after the fact, I was watching, and Gary was talking about how their channel was sometimes getting, Doppler radar and getting things like that they, he was kind of bragging a little bit, like, and he even mentioned it, we were able to look at and call warnings before the National Weather Service did. And he'd look at Rick and kind of smile, and Rick was kind of stoic. And but there was a couple little banters back and forth, and it was just at the beginning. I think once we got into it, everybody warmed up and it was good. But it was just really interesting at the beginning to realize that that the National Weather Service, and I don't know if Rick specifically, but the national, because Gary's been in Oklahoma City for so long, right? But that there certainly were times that they didn't maybe always see eye to eye, and I didn't, here I am bringing two guys together. We're trying to have fun and drink beer and talk storms, and it was just a little uncomfortable there at the beginning.
Didn't turn into a full-on bar brawl.
No, it wasn't, and Gary is bigger than life, right? I mean, his personality and persona is just big, and he jokes a lot, and he does all that. And Rick is a great guy, but he's more stoic. He's more even keeled, and so it was Gary just boasting a little bit and talking it up and looking at Rick, and Rick just like, but they were both great, and it was just, that was awesome. A very memorable, memorable night to celebrate our 100th with two legends in the industry, but also with friends.
That's so great. And that's a perfect picture of the spectrum of the weather community and the storm chasing community, right? Like those two diametric poles of personalities, and you had two legends, two exemplars of each on stage. Is pretty awesome. That's an awesome moment.
And really cool that you got to have Gary England on your show. And I believe you had him on multiple times. Is that right?
We had him on the show twice remotely. Okay. And then of course that was the third time and last time. Yeah. It was in person. So that was, that was really a pleasure.
For people who don't know, Gary England was a legendary meteorologist in Oklahoma, really was the one who launched live weather broadcasts of tornadoes on the news. And he recently passed away this past year. But yeah, a legend in his own right, and really cool that you guys got to have him on a few times.
Gary England is a great guest, a memorable guest that you had on your show. Are there any other really amazing guests that stick out in your mind?
That's so loaded, Jeremy. It's when you've had 250 shows, and granted, some of the guests have been multiple guests, like you guys, but it's hard to really go through that. We've certainly had people on multiple times. We've had Josh Morgerman on, Hurricane Man, big hurricane chaser. We've had, he loves coming on. We love having him on. Janice Dean from Fox, senior meteorologist with Fox News. She's been on multiple times. She is just a gas, because she used to be a former disc jockey at a classic rock radio station.
Hey, yeah.
And so she was always a blast. It's the people, Jeremy, that don't take themselves too seriously like us.
Yeah.
Those are always the ones that we have the most fun and we have a blast with on the show, because they can come on the show and not have to feel like okay, this is all serious, and let's talk this, and that we start the show by telling them, here's what we're drinking tonight. I got my Blue Hawaiian right here, and just to let their hair down, except James Spann. He didn't have any hair to let down. But
Oh, that's so great. I mean, your show, just both times that we were on your show, it truly is, it's just the most fun. And I always feel like I'm getting brought into a clubhouse, and like, that is the greatest thing to feel is welcomed. Hey, get in here, grab a drink. We're going to play some games and be idiots. Like, this is the best thing possible. So it's just wonderful.
And you develop great friendships from doing something as simple as that. That's to me, one of the biggest things, that's come from it is just getting a chance to develop friendships with people that, honest to God, guys, I never would have dreamed of building relationships with the people that I have in this industry, and certainly that includes you guys as well. That's the amazing part, and you don't think of that going into it. You don't realize that.
Yeah. Totally. We feel the same way. Yeah. Yeah. And it's just thank you for inviting us, into that and inviting us to be your friends and the Stormfront Freaks friends. And, I know it's meant a lot to me. I don't want to speak for Gabe. I think it's meant a lot to him too.
Same here for sure. And getting to chase with you through that, getting to know you through the podcast, and then getting to meet you in person and actually chasing together. Yeah. That was awesome. And it won't be the last time. We'll meet up under a storm for sure. Absolutely. And you guys still had one of the memorable times too, because you guys made our blooper reel that we made, and this was a while back, but this was your first appearance on the show when you guys were trying to what we used to always do, and we still have been, but we've been having guests on lately that we've had on before, so we don't need to do it, but we'd always have our guests give a little audio plug. Just say, hey, this is, Gabe Cox, and you're listening to the Stormfront Freaks podcast. And then, we'd use that and plug it in at times for other stuff that we do. And, but I remember, it was a failed experiment that we tried with you guys because it was more than one person. And we're like, well, let's do this. We'll have you say this part of that, and then you say this part of it. And then at the end, all come together and say, and you're listening to the Stormfront Freaks podcast.
Oh my gosh.
It works probably if you're live, but when you're calling in virtually,
and there's a lot of delay,
there might be little delays here and there. If you guys remember that, it just was failure after failure, and then we're just like, okay, let's scratch that. We're not going to do it. We'll try it this way.
Oh my gosh!
I do remember that, and I do remember making the blooper reel. That was because that was the first time I actually heard it from your perspective. From my perspective, I was like, well, we were kind of lined up.
Good point. That's a good point.
Yeah, it was rough.
Gosh, yeah, but it's like it's just great to do embarrassing, stupid stuff amongst friends. Yeah. Like that's the best.
Humanizes everybody.
Those are the memories, and like it's great. Like, let's put our ego aside for a little bit. Like, it's okay. Like, we can be just silly billies for a little bit. Stormfront Freaks rules, man. Well, Phil, this has just been such a treat. Thank you so much for your time, and I don't know, we're just both so grateful for you, your friendship, kind of your mentorship, and thanks for letting us be a part of the Stormfront Freaks community, man.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys more than you know. Thank you.
Oh man, thanks. And thank you for joining us, Phil. And is there anywhere else that you want to point people on the web? We've mentioned Stormfront Freaks Network, and then look out for the final show as well.
Yeah, no, that's good. We'll still, all of our content will still be available, on the podcast platforms, and on YouTube. It's, the good thing about it is a lot of it's evergreen. We don't really talk about current events necessarily on those shows. It's just all guests with stories, and so it's very, very evergreen that way, which is
cool.
Good.
And the final show, October 23rd, is that the right date?
Yep. So it'll be October 23rd, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 o'clock Central. So we'll be live on our Stormfront Freaks Network YouTube channel.
Awesome. Thank you so much for listening to StormReel. Please, if you could, rate, review, and subscribe. And if the place you're listening has a little bell or notification tool, please hit that so you know the exact moment when the next episode of StormReel releases. Thank you to Orograph for the use of our awesome theme song, Metamorism. You can find that song and album streaming everywhere. You can find us, Gabe and I, on the web everywhere at the StormReel. Our website is stormreel.com. Please share that out. That really, really genuinely does help us. For the StormReel, I've been Jeremy Hamann, joined by Gabe Cox. We'll talk soon.